Welcome back! As you can see, I am in Kirishima cosplay, but hair down because I do not have the skills to do that spiky up hair or the money to get those wigs where you can't see the hairline. So this is the best Kirishima I have got, and therefore it's what you've got, so deal with it. I do have fangs for Kirishima that I usually wear. It's just the 2 teeth, not the full set, because I do not have the skills to make them or the patience, because it would really annoy me. But I'm not wearing them right now because I'm doing a video and the lisp or the slur I would have in my words would be horrific, so I'm saving both of us on that part. But I've been having a BNHA head rot for the past few months, and I figured I would make a video about it. So I'm going to start naming some headcanons that I have about the show. Not that anyone really cares, but I thought it would be fun to share some of the things that I think about and that have been engraved in my mind, and I cannot think about anything else. So they are all on my notes app here. Yes, I have a Bakugo case, kind of on brand for Kirishima, but I have a whole load of them. So let's just get straight into it because I don't know how long this is going to take. My first headcanon I have seen around a lot, and it's the fact that Kirishima, my boy, has 2 moms. I don't know who started this, I can't remember where exactly I heard it, might have been in a fanfiction, but ever since then all I can imagine is Kirishima with 2 moms, perfection. And as a little add-on, not that I've seen anyone else do this, is the fact that he has an older brother and a younger sister, and all 3 of them are adopted. But that obviously doesn't matter to them because they're all a family no matter what, but that's what I've got. That's the family in my mind. And I don't think we've seen them unless it's in the manga, because I don't read the manga. People are going to come for me if I say that wrong. It's not in the comics. That's even worse. I'm just going to move on. But yeah, unless it's in the manga, I don't think we've seen his family. So until I see it in the show, then it never happened, and he has 2 moms and 2 other siblings. If you have seen the episode where they move into the dorms and they give a little tour of what they set out their room to be, you will notice that Denki has a whole rack of random hats that we have never seen him wear, and I don't know where they come from. But I have a headcanon that those hats are from different cosplays or different characters that he dresses up as, because yes, in my mind he is a cosplayer, and that's why he has so many hats, because they're from different costumes, and every now and then his friends will join in and they'll do a little cosplay together, and it's really cute, and that's all I can think of. Going off of that, Midoriya and Bakugo have watched anime together since they were very little, like 5 or 6 years old, because obviously a lot of shit happened, but they still had that baseline of friends to begin with, and I believe that they started watching anime together when they were very young, and they would watch it constantly, they would play games about it, they would everything. But then obviously a lot of stuff went down with the whole growing up and getting no quirk thing, so they fell apart and they didn't watch shows together anymore. However, now that they're back in UA, I like to believe that Bakugo is realising he is not the best thing in the world, which has been shown. There has been shown that there's character development within himself, that he realises he isn't the best at everything, and he doesn't need to put on this whole confidence god complex that he has. And so he apologises to Deku. That is an arc I still want to see. Going off topic, I like to believe that they became friends again and they started watching anime again, and whenever one of them is training, the other one cannot watch a specific show without them, and if they do, then they fight and they argue. But it links in to the theory about Denki, because I like to believe that he caught them watching anime at one point and he had a cosplay from said anime, and that's how they found out that Denki's a cosplayer, because they roped him in and now they cosplay together, the 3 of them, whenever they have time. And it is the best thing to imagine Bakugo doing cosplay on TikTok. You are welcome. Sato bakes a birthday cake for everyone on their birthday, or if it's a special occasion like Christmas or Valentine's Day or whatever, he will always bake a cake, and either for a specific person if it's their birthday, or for everyone to share if it's a celebration, and they just all enjoy it because he is the best baker that there is. I like to believe that Ida and Momo are childhood friends, similar to Bakugo and Midoriya. However, obviously they didn't have that whole falling out thing, but I like to believe that they met at Mike and Aizawa's wedding when they were very, very little, because both of their families are very rich and very popular within the hero community and in general. So I like to believe that when they were little they met at their wedding, and since then their families have just like merged, they did business or whatever, and so they grew up together. And I also like to think that Ida had a little bit of a crush on Momo at some point. Whether or not that disappeared into UA is for you to decide. At one point, when Eri came to the dorms to visit everyone, when Aizawa was watching her, she saw that Shoji was asleep on the sofa, and because he has these big arms and this wingspan, he wrapped himself in it, and Eri immediately thought that it was like a butterfly in the cocoon. And so when he woke up like a few minutes later from the commotion of everyone seeing Eri, he woke up and obviously she saw the arms and she got really excited because her first thought was, oh my god, it's a butterfly. And they had to sit her down really sadly and be like, that's not a butterfly, that's just Shoji, he's a part of the class. But Shoji himself could not deal with Eri being sad in any way, so they ended up, the whole class, partnering together and painting his arms so that they looked like wings, and it was very uneven. Not like an actual butterfly at all, but they didn't care because it made Eri smile and everyone was happy about it. We all know that Mina is a really good dancer, that's evident, and we all know that if she had a TikTok she would be doing all the dances, she would be really popular, and everyone in UA thought the exact same, and they thought that she would be the biggest TikTok star doing all their dances. However, by just a few thousand followers, the most popular person on social media is actually Sue. And I say this because she has the whole cute aesthetic and no one can tell if it's a normal, straight, soft girl or if it's just a cottagecore lesbian. And because of that, the two of them have just merged because no one can figure out which one it is apart from her. Since Koda's whole power is to do with animals, that he will most likely bring them in for training so that he can talk to them and do whatever it is, just training with them. And now and then the class will obviously come over and be like, animals, cats, bunnies, whatever, you name it, he'll call them in, sometimes just to cheer up the class if they're feeling down. However, at the end of the day, he has to send them away because obviously no pets are allowed in the dorms unless it's for training. But I like to believe that he kept a small little bunny and hides it in his little dorm room until Aizawa found out, and he was going to get mad until Koda bribed him with his own cat, and since then it's been secret that he has a cat and that Koda has a bunny, and no one has talked about it since. It's a pretty common theory at this point that because of Bakugo's quirk, he's going deaf in one ear, and because of Mike's quirk, he's also deaf, or they're both hard of hearing or partly deaf. You can decide, it's up to whatever you want to interpret, but because both of them are hard of hearing or going deaf or whatever, Mike teaches Bakugo sign language, and he hates the fact that he has to learn sign language and he doesn't like relying on people, and it's a really big insecurity for him at first because you have to learn all these new things and he's scared that he won't be able to save as many people. But Mike reassures him and explains to him that he's not alone, that he's been a hero for many, many years and he's had this hearing problem and he's doing fine, he's doing amazing. Look at the job that he has, look at how many people he saved. And that helps Bakugo just feel a little bit better in himself because he knows that there's a hero out there who's done good, and so can he. It's very similar to the relationship that Shinzo and Aizawa have, that I've seen, with the whole, they both have silent quirks, but they're working to manifest it so that they're more powerful. And it's the same with Bakugo and Mike. They have the whole hearing thing and how that impacts on hero society. And I feel like Bakugo slowly gets more confident in himself, obviously, and he starts doing interviews about it in a more serious manner of all the struggles that he goes through with his hearing and how it doesn't affect him as much anymore because he knows that he can do it. It's just his own little way of getting around the world, if that makes sense. With the amount of chaos in 1A, I feel like the fridge will have broken at some point because someone would have knocked into it or Bakugo would have exploded it. Whatever reason, they needed a new fridge in the UA dorms. And so the men with the new fridge pull up and they're like, okay, give us a sec because we need to take the old one out. But Deku notices that people have come to pick up the fridge and move it somewhere else. And he just really simply is like, oh, it's okay, I got it. Picks up the fridge and just takes it out. And everyone in the class, and I mean everyone, is just sat there like, what the fuck? How? But All Might knows. It's because he was a heathen and made him just move furniture on that beach. Being a hero in training is hard, especially in 1A with the amount of villain attacks and vigorous training that they go through. It's hard for them, and I feel after a particularly hard day for them, they are just feeling very down and very emotional. Excuse my voice. And so they said, who cares anymore, risk it all, and they set up the band in Jiro's room with the whole drum set, the guitars, the mics, everything pretty much all over again from the concert. And they sat down and they played the drums and the guitar and they listened to the music and they all sang, all of them, even though it was bad. They just didn't care. They just wanted to let loose, get all the stress out of them. They just wanted to have a moment at night where they can just feel like teenagers, because at the end of the day they are children and Aizawa wasn't about to expel them for being children in a vulnerable moment, and he's a big softie, so there's that as well. Tokoyami paints his nails like dark colours, like blacks, dark reds, browns, you name it, just dark colours because it fits his aesthetic. And sometimes the girls will rope him into a girls' night and they'll get him to paint their nails as well, and they'll have a little bit of a gossip and just bond. Uraraka does struggle with money, that's evident, and she said before that she will skip meals just so that they can help her family pay for stuff. But if anyone in the dorms or in the school in general, teachers, whoever that knows her situation, notices she's not eating as much, maybe, even if it's not like an eating thing, just out of habit, they will make sure that she is eating, whether it be like a casual little, oh, I don't want this anymore, Uraraka, here you go, or they physically just sit her down and say, eat something, and she appreciates that. And she understands the whole, they're just taking care of me thing, and she is getting better. And it's just a cute little thing. For Uraraka as well, I have seen so much stuff about Uraraka using people for money, like Momo stealing Momo's money, or a joke about, oh, I'll do this as long as it gets me money. I hate that so much because it belittles everyone that struggles with money into just wanting that one thing, and that's not what everyone is about. Not everyone is so money observant just because they're struggling. In fact, I believe that if maybe she doesn't have enough money for lunch one day and someone offers her money like, hey, oh, it's fine, it's on me, she will refuse to the ends of the earth, to the point where if they sneak it into her pocket, like, oh, it's fine, just here, and then walk away or whatever, she will use her quirk to somehow float it back to them or float it back into their pockets, because she refuses to accept money from anyone because she views it as a weakness, that she doesn't need anyone else's money, she can do fine on her own. Bakugo and Todoroki set fire to a building of endeavours at some point, like an agency or an upcoming project. No one was in it, so no one was hurt, and they knew that no one would get hurt, but they set fire to it either way, and then both blamed it on Dobby and everyone believed them. Zero cares a lot about Denki and how people use him for a charger, and so if he notices that people are doing it too much in one day, or too many times people have asked, hey, do you mind just doing this, and he notices that it's draining Denki, then he will stick up for him and be like, no, go get a charger. We have ports, we have chargers, it's a school building that's paid for. Go charge your phone with an actual charger. Denki is not your charger, and he will stick up for them. Not always in a passive aggressive way, but just in like a casual thing like, hey, I've got a charger if you need it, so that Denki won't be used. And it's never really talked about between them, but Denki really appreciates it, and he knows that it's because Zero cares about him. Ida and Todoroki actually have a really good close relationship, like they are best friends, which probably again comes from the whole they're rich, their families mixed, they've met in some way before, but they're actually really good friends at UA, and they will meet up sometimes and they will talk about their family, not always in a deep, really deep sense. They just do it because they both have family in the hospital. So Ida has everything that happened with his brother, Todoroki has what happened to his mom. Whether or not they go into detail about what happened or not can be up for debate, but I feel like they bond over that shared experience of both having family go through so much and a person changed in the family, and I feel like they bond over that. They get that something's not right. Momo's an astrology lesbian, and you cannot tell me otherwise. She has everyone's sign memorised, and if she notices, like in her weekly, monthly, whatever, that someone's sign isn't going to do particularly well, or if something's going to happen, she will just casually go over and be like, oh, if you're going to do this, be careful, or this thing's coming up, so be careful. Not everyone believes it. Actually, most of the people are like, yeah, okay, whatever, Momo. Until one point, Momo gives a warning, like, hey, this is going to happen, like in a serious voice, this is going to happen, be careful. And they just don't care, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then something bad happens. And since then, they've always been like, Momo, what's going to happen to me today? And now they go to her for like advice if they're nervous about something. Again, it's up for debate whether or not Bakugo was abused during his childhood, but it's clear that there is a lot of childhood trauma there that stems from a lot of different things. And because of that, when Bakugo is older and he has his children of his own, he makes sure that no matter what, he never does what his mum did, and he never puts pressure on them to do well or anything that links to that trauma, because he doesn't want his children to grow up in a way that in the same way that he did, because it still affects him a lot, and he doesn't want them to feel like they aren't worth anything. I'm probably going to say her name wrong, but because Hagakure is invisible, she will go around the dorms quite often pretending to be God or pretending to be a ghost and tricking other students into thinking that there's some other being there, and she'll whisper things or she'll move things. Eventually people catch on. Some don't, like Denki. Zero doesn't quite believe in ghosts, but then everything happens and he's like, oh, maybe. And especially Mineta. Mineta has no idea that this is Hagakure, and she uses that to her advantage, and she will sneak into his room like a legend and whisper things about you need to respect women, or she'll pretend to be God and will be like, you need to protect women or you're going to hell, and just always like ulterior motives so that he will finally behave like an actual decent human being, and the girls love her for it. A little bit of a softer one to end, because I feel like this has gone on for a while, so I'll end it here. But Ojiro will play with Denki as if he's a cat with his tail. So you know how people get those red lights and they'll point it for the cats and they will pounce? He'll do the same with his tail, and he'll move around his tail and Denki will pounce on his tail and they'll just joke. But 9 times out of 10 it always ends up with Denki and him cuddling, and he'll wrap his tail around him and they'll move in closer, and I just think it's really cute. I think from this you can probably tell what a lot of my rare pair ships are, but who cares? Like I said, that's all I'm going to do because I've sat here for a while and now I've got dead legs. So I'm going to go stretch my legs, move around. If you want to hear more headcanons that I have, I will probably do another video. We'll see if I can think of any more, which I probably can. This is pretty easy to write a list. I just did whatever came to mind, but there's a lot more in here that I haven't wrote down. So maybe a part 2 will be on its way. That is all. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, night, evening, or whatever it is where you are, and make sure you drink some water.